It's a patch. The last patch of the season. So say your goodbyes to Season 7 now while you still have the chance. And hit gold so you can get those Victorious Graves Krobas, if you want. But first, the patch. AP Galio got buffed. What? Urgot got mostly buffed. Sejuani's reign over the jungle is in jeopardy. And hallelujah, Ardent Sensor got nerfed. But it's still pretty good, so don't get your hopes up. Now away to Patch Note Podcast Land.
Welcome to the Trinity Force Podcast. Yo, it's that Triforce cast beaming straight to your home. Grab a beer so we know Pone ain't drinking alone. Send an email, a quick tweet, just pick up the phone. Leave a message, hit the beep if you're a creep, watch your tone. Discuss the meta game, patch notes, whatever helps your stats most. Obi-Pone Kenobi is your last hope to snatch gold. So grab your headphones and join in the fun. We'll try and force in some jokes and some cringeworthy puns. Yo, we can make it together, people. Trinity Force Podcast. These boys are second to none. Now that's the end of the intro. It's time we begun.
Hey everybody, thanks for joining the Trinity Force Podcast, episode number 484. I am your host tonight. My name is Dom. I'm joined by four guys. We got Beaver.
Hey guys.
We got Todd.
What's up, dogs?
We got Punch.
Hello.
And for a surprising 2 shows in a row, we got Shira Jaden back with us.
I'm alive.
I didn't think it was possible.
I know.
I didn't think this day would ever come.
Podcast with you in a while, Punch.
Yeah.
It's been a minute.
It's been so far long ago, I don't recall last time. Ages. Decades.
We're covering patch 7.21 tonight. This is the last patch before preseason hits, so if you're in for the grind, if you're trying to get up that one last rank, trying to move up one division or something like that,
this is your moment.
This is what you better be ready for this.
And thankfully, it's a well-balanced patch, so you don't have to. There's nothing you can abuse. It's all skill at this point. It's all
couple pieces of business to attend to.
Skill all the way home.
We got Buddha Boxers promo going on. BuddhaBoxers.com/TForce. No code, just boxers. Cheap. And as always, you can write to us at feedback@trinityforcepodcast.com. We'll get back to you either on the show or by direct reply. It happens every now and then. Sometimes questions just like, this only applies to you, so I usually am the one that writes back.
Good Samaritan Dom.
All right. As much like Monday, our weekly challenge is still narrate your games as if you were a streamer. Write back to us. Let us know how that was working out for you this week. I'd be curious to hear that one because that was one more of our our left field weekly challenges, if you ask me. Like we've done some pretty good ones, but this one's like kind of oddball.
Because that one can also untilt you. Like sometimes what I'll do is I'll just narrate silly things that happen, and it becomes a tragic comedy. My solo queue games, like and bot lane died again. It's silly bot lane.
You've been playing too much with me and Adam.
Sometimes that happens.
The self-burn. All right, patch 7.21. We've got changes, starting with the big one. Galio saw a lot of work done this patch. His passive got changed, Colossal Smash. The HP ratio was previously 0.4 ability power. It's now up to 0.7 ability power for some reason. Winds of War. The base damage went up from 60 to 200. I'm sorry, the base damage went down from 60 to 200 to 50 to 170.
But that ratio, though.
And the ratio up from 0.75 ability power to 0.9. The max percent health damage over time was previously 2% of the target's max health per second, or per half second, and now it is 3% of the target's max health per 100 ability power per half second. Not sure how to read that. W, the Shield of Duran, the magic damage reduction was previously 20 to 40% plus 8% per 100 bonus magic resist, and that's now down at 20 to 40% plus 8% per bonus 100 magic resist, and plus 5% of or per bonus ability power. 5% 5% per bonus 100 ability power, excuse me. And the physical damage reduction is half of that. Justice Punch. Base damage has gone from 100 to 260 down to 100 to 220. But it also got an AP ratio bump of from 0.7 ability power to 0.9 ability power. So
That's pretty good.
What a badass name for a skill, by the way.
Justice Punch?
Justice Punch.
That's something Garen should have, dude. Justice
It is.
Punch.
Oh yeah,
That's-
definitely.
That is all it should be.
what isn't his critical strike the Justice Punch?
That's decisive strike.
Uh,
Or it used to be a punch. It used to have a punch animation.
they got rid of the punch?
Yeah, dude, it's gone now.
Damn.
Now he stabs you like right in the heart.
Well, that's pretty good too.
He's like he's taking down a vampire. Like,
that's-
I am righteous, and he's just in there.
That's still pretty
It's
badass.
not really a stabbing sword. A great sword. It's kind of hard to stab with that.
Yeah, that's how manly he is.
Yeah, he just
I guess
pushes it
so.
through anyway.
Isn't Justice Punch the 1-point wonder for Galio?
Probably
You just charge
now.
up, charge at somebody, knock them up.
Yeah, it is.
I mean, it was always Q max, I thought, just because the wave clear on that was so
Right.
good and important, but also it was like the bulk of his damage.
But to summarize, I mean, we just hit you with a whole bunch of numbers. Basically, all his base damage went down, but his ratios went up. So they're incentivizing you to build more ability power rather than building like a touch of ability power and then relying on your base damages and just building tank, which is not very healthy. So
Rather than just get all the damage and
Yeah.
be tanky, it's just like, well, if you want damage, you better build it.
So I like the direction that they're pushing him in. This is a lot healthier direction for a champion that's supposed to like initiate fights, deal burst damage, and then sort of back out. Not initiate fights, deal burst damage, and then not die. That's what he used to
That
do.
said, he's now dealing more damage with Q than Ari does in her full combo. So,
True. They may have gone overboard with the ratios, but at least the direction is the right one.
I am a little confused as to why they thought his passive needed a bump up on its AP ratio. Like, Galio...
By that much, too.
Galio,
By
when
0.3.
I mean, Galio's still a problem in pro play, but before he got nerfed so hard because of his pro play prominence, he was doing a lot of damage out of top and even mid. And it sort of seems like they were really, really aggressive with the buffs here, and this would have been an easy place for them to just say, you know what, we can give him power to his passive later on if for some reason we still think he's weak or something.
I was about to say it's kind of been uncharacteristic for them this year to do flat buffs to every ability across the board. They've been way more willing to do creeping buffs, like a little bit here, a little bit there over the course of 3 or 4 patches. But this is just sort of throw all the AP ratios at the wall and pray that your body is not sticking afterward.
And it's also weird to get this many big changes on the last patch of the season.
Right.
Like, this would have made a lot of sense in preseason. Okay, that's the time for experimentation, a lot of shit going around, a lot of shit going down. But we're playing 2 weeks with this champion in this state, and he might be like automatic banned at this point.
But this also could be an instance of them preparing for the game post rune rework. Maybe,
Yeah, but why would that-
Maybe they
why-
looked at Galio. Like, this does seem like an excessive amount of damage even after runes, but we really don't know how much those runes of mastery are going to affect the game.
But I
maybe
still
he just has
disagree.
no damage.
I
But I
still
mean-
disagree
After.
with them including all of these changes in this patch. Included on the runes patch, that's fine. But on this patch, where we have to play with him in what seems to be like a really, really powerful state,
Yeah.
I think
it seems
He was-
excessive.
It's
I like it
not
for
like he
sure.
was bad. It's not like he was bad before either. So I
AP
don't-
Galio wasn't bad, no.
my
It's just
Uh,
that you
trying to
wouldn't
say?
build it because Tank Galio was better.
my
Yeah.
take on the changes is this: Galio has been like dumpster in solo queue for a minute because he's been repressive and competitive, and now the patch will not affect competitive for a while. So I think they're taking a chance on trying to improve Galio before the preseason gets here, just so that they can compare what the changes are like to the current state of the game as it is, because they still have a little bit of like a window into, like they still have more insight into that kind of stuff right now because they have so much more to work with the way the game is still, if that makes sense.
I am starting to think that Shield of Durand has something of an identity crisis because it's a taunt, which I guess affects mages pretty hard insofar as they can no longer cast their spells or anything, but then giving all that magic damage reduction isn't that big of a deal because they can't cast their spells during the taunt anyway. And I believe it persists afterwards, so that at least it's helpful there.
That's
but
kind
then,
of the. Sorry, keep going.
oh, go ahead.
I was just gonna say that's kind of the point of, if you think about what Galio's identity is supposed to be, it's you pick him against high magic damage compositions because building ability power should lead to more magic resistance. So Shield of Durand is good against mages, and that's fine because that's the whole point of taunting them. They can't use their spells, but the problem before was it also reduced way too much physical damage, so Galio wasn't just a niche pick against mages anymore. He's now just an oppressive tank that has way too much wave clear, insane map control with his ultimate, and lots of crowd control. So it was too much, and they did cut down the physical damage to half, which is a good direction, but still I just think it's a little bit, the ratios are they're too high.
I just mean that a taunt is kind of a thing that really affects physical damage dealers a lot more than magic damage dealers. And Galio being this kind of anti-mage tank character and still having a taunt is sort of the identity crisis part I was talking about.
Well, and that's the other piece of this. Like, even if he wanted to taunt just melee, the fact that he's getting magic damage reduction from anybody who's sitting on the outside poking away at him too, it's still a catch-all ability of there isn't, as long as you're landing it on something, you're getting a benefit against everything.
So Urgot. Urgot saw some changes this patch. I'm actually really interested to hear what you think on this, Todd, because you've had strong feelings on Urgot in the past. The passive Echoing Flames, the legs cooldown went from 30 down to 10 at levels 1 to 13, depending on rank, down to 30 to 2.5 with the same levels, but it now no longer scales off cooldown reduction from items. So the legs are going to be up all the time, but I think that was the what people were building towards anyway. The damage per leg went from 4.5% to 8% of the target's max health at ranks 1, 6, 9, 13, 15, down to 2 to 8% of the target's maximum health at the same levels.
Not the same levels. Unless that was changed recently.
Oh, no, I'm sorry.
He gets the maximum damage 2 levels faster now.
Yeah, 1, 6, 9, 11, 13. My apologies. Good catch,
earlier.
Punch.
Yeah.
Q, the corrosive charge. The mana cost has gone from 35 to 55, depending on rank, down, or just to 50 at all ranks. And the time before detonation has gone from 0.85 seconds down to 0.5 seconds.
Gross.
And then the missile speed of Fear Beyond Death, his ultimate, has gone up from 2100 up to 3200.
So right off the bat, I'm a little concerned about that Q detonation change and the missile speed change on his ult. Right now, especially as a melee character top lane, the only counterplay you have to somebody like Urgot, as somebody like Darius or Garen, is to just not get hit. That's really your only option right now.
I mean, isn't that kind of true for everybody that Urgot's going up against right now?
I mean,
Punches, your mileage been a little different?
I mean, I'm not saying that that's not true for everybody. Obviously, that's the way his kit works. Like, everybody has to dodge it.
It's
but
especially true for those champions. It's especially true for melees
that can't fight back in any way. Like, it's just really oppressive against those characters in particular. So I'm concerned about his matchups top lane. I think he's going to be really lopsided. I think he's going to really dominate a certain type of class. And I think he's going to really suffer against, another type, basically.
Yeah, and changing missile speed is always, it has a lot higher impact than you might think.
I mean,
like the
dodging
cooldown
ult,
thing.
like that insta-kill on the ult, I mean, that's a huge thing. Like, I've won duels against Urgot just, by being able to dodge that. And now it seems like it'll be less, harder to do.
I feel like he gets way more powerful early now just by virtue of Q being. I mean, Q's just going to be more reliable, and so that means
Right.
he's suddenly going to have the W. Suddenly like he's going to have that W auto lock on way more frequently than his opponents are certainly used to. I mean, and so that's something that should be pretty easily abused.
Yeah, I mean, that's, again, as a melee character, it is kind of your success in the lane is depending on dodging that Q and avoiding the lock on, because if you get locked on, then you just have to, Urgot controls the wave at that point. You just walk up to you and hit W, and there's nothing you can do about it. Whereas, yeah, ranged characters also have to avoid Urgot's shit, but Urgot has to get pretty close to use W against ranged characters, and he has to approach them to throw a Q at them. So it's a lot easier for them to deal with Urgot, and if they see him approaching, they know a Q is coming. If you're melee, the Q could come in any time. You just have to always be moving and hope you can dodge it.
Yeah,
So the
especially 'cause
time before
he's
destination
probably-
reduction sucks.
I mean, he's probably just repositioning to try and get more of the leg shots off on you anyway. So you're looking for the Q, but it could come.
The detonation change is also going to make him feel a lot smoother when you're playing him in lane 2. Because 0.85 seconds is kind of awkward. He has like a bunch of strange like delays on his abilities, but making them a little smaller is going to make him feel smoother to play, for sure. But I mean, the mana cost is higher as well across the board. So
It does
maybe
look
he
like
can't
he's-
spam as much.
Sorry, I'm very rude. I keep interrupting people.
No, go for it.
It does look like he has a sizable early game nerf in the fact that, that 30 seconds isn't going to scale with CDR, and that max HP damage is cut in more than half in those early ranks. Or at the early rank, I should say. So his pre-6 pressure probably won't be as bad as it was. It was kind of scary, but
But if the games get rolling and it goes deep, it just gets better and better.
yeah. But he deserves that, honestly. Like,
Yeah,
he's
yeah.
he's in that class. I think he deserves to be strong later. I think maybe he's just it might be a little too strong right now in the early, but we'll see.
Statistically, he was just a little bit below average, but he's also not played terribly often and everything. I kind of feel like he might be a sleeper on this patch going for the next 2 weeks.
I think it might have just been a sleeper even prior to this patch,
Yeah, it might be.
since his play rate's been so low.
I mean, I doubt this late in the season anybody's gonna pick him up in ranked at this point.
That's
but-
true. We don't recommend that you suddenly just learn him, but I guess
But-
if you already added him,
I bet he's gonna be like a monster in normals right now, though.
yeah. Well, Gangplank saw a little change here. Q parlays gold on kill has gone from 2 to 6 up to 3 to 7 based on rank. So
Mo money.
more money, fewer problems really for that champion.
Yep.
Is that really his problem though? Because he just farm, like permanently farm until 3 items anyways.
Yeah, I mean the idea is they want him to get there faster.
Yeah.
Get there
faster,
slightly
yeah.
faster. Yeah.
Farm more.
Santana played a lot of Gangplank, so I wish he was here to talk with us, but unfortunately couldn't make it.
Yep.
I think
Or
that change
Poland, for
is
that matter.
honestly somewhat significant. Just for the fact that they're trying to make basically him scale faster and or better, essentially. But they're trying to do it without undoing the nerfs to his early damage and his base stats from the past.
1 gold is one of those things that's really hard to appreciate. It just doesn't sound that much, but you don't really think about how often you're getting that bonus gold on that champion. And even look at things like the support masteries, where I would love to take Greenfather's Gift a bunch of times just because, extra damage for the amount of time that I spend in brush sounds really, really appealing. But I'm never going to do that because it means giving up the gold for the 1 gold from the minion deaths and everything. And I just I can't. You need that money and everything. So this is probably a bigger deal than we're, like Todd just said, it's probably a bigger deal than we're making it out to be. But
Maybe. That's a lot of Q kills in order to afford
Yeah, I was about
a
to say, like,
It's
wasn't it with the
Red
barrels?
you need a ton more Q kills to really make that meaningful.
That'll come
When you
into
look-
play later.
Yeah, yeah.
Once you can actually, set up barrels in a lane and start pushing, but during the laning phase, that
But
You don't
even if
really have that
every
luxury.
single minion leading up to 20 minutes, let's say you have like 200 CS, it's like 200 gold.
Yeah, I
best.
was gonna
But
say
that would be all with
300
Q though.
At
Or E,
300
because this E
CS,
counts for everything too.
yeah,
I mean, it's 200 more gold than he would have had on the last patch.
It's true,
but
it's still more gold. But I just don't know how
1,400 gold now,
Yeah,
I mean,
don't know.
it's a different. It's a difference
as
in that
opposed to 1,200.
if you get really good at killing stuff and making your Q count, you will get part of an item or the merge cost of that a little bit quicker. I mean, it's
If it's the difference between completing an item or not in your back, yeah, that's a big
huge.
deal.
Yeah, but it's one of, if you're not good at it, it won't matter to you as much. Like it really isn't going to matter to you at all if you aren't good at using it to farm well. Which, I mean, if that's the case, you probably shouldn't be playing Gangplank in the first place, but that's a whole different story.
Cho'Gath's Feast now stacks. Cho'Gath's Feast stacks now correctly count spawned Rift Heralds as epic monsters. I'm sorry, boys. I'm struggling tonight.
If somebody uses Rift Herald and you eat it with Cho and you kill it, you get a stack of Feast.
That was kind of a frustrating thing, I'm sure, for Cho'Gath players. Not that they have a whole lot to be frustrated about, given how fucking strong and terrorizing that champion can be. But now, for doing things that you wanted to do anyway, you're actually going to be rewarded appropriately. To the jungle. Sejuani saw some changes. Her base stats got hit pretty hard. The base her
They
base
got hit
armor
really hard.
Yeah, her base armor dropped from 27 down to 22. Armor growth has gone from 4 down to 3. Her base MR has gone from 32.1 down to 27.1. And her MR growth has gone from 1.25 down to 0.75.
So,
go ahead.
But before we jump into the other changes too, I just want to say I've played a ton of Sejuani the last 2 seasons, and they haven't changed her base stats much since then. And she already has like a not a very good early clear. Like her,
It's super rough.
like you get pretty low in the jungle, and these changes are just gonna make her even more vulnerable in the early game to invades or even just dying to your camps if you're not very good at pathing. You can do a 3 camp clear like relatively safe because you're E damage, but it does get a little dicey if you try to do much more than that. Yeah, but we can continue to talk about the other changes.
Well, because I think some of this is affected by her passive here. Fury of the North, the flat bonus resistances have gone from 20 to 100, 2060 100 up to 2070 120. The shield's linger duration went from 1 to 3 seconds based on level, just to flat 2 at all ranks, and the cooldown went from 15 down to 9 seconds based on your level to 12 seconds at all ranks. So
Regardless with that shield staying up just a little bit longer, I don't think that this makes, even with the timing changes, I don't think this makes anything smoother at all because of the flat bonus resist maintaining 20 from levels 1 to 6 or whatever it's going to end up being.
And
With the base stat reduction, like it's still going to hurt her a lot.
I mean, what's she likely having the shield available during? It's blue shield. It won't be available for Gromp. It'd be available for wolves if she goes that route, and then not available for raptors, or would it be available?
It will be, but the 12 seconds doesn't really make a big difference.
I feel like that's a big difference maker.
It's 3 seconds. It's the linger that actually like matters, because you're gonna be able to tank another auto attack from your camp.
Yeah.
But
it does mean you have to be like
also
methodical
remember
about
her.
using it.
You do have to be methodical, but also remember her passive. The bonus percentages scale off her base magic and armor resistance, so the nerfs also hurt her passive.
Permafrost also saw some changes. The tooltip now mentions Permafrost has a displacement effect. The freeze damage has gone from 40 to 120 down to 20 to 60, depending on rank. And the shatter damage is still 10, 15, or 20% of the target's maximum health, because that is technically part of her passive Fury of the North.
I think it's useless. I don't know why they did this. They cut the damage in half, but that's not really the point of the ability. It's the percent maximum health, or if they wanted to nerf it, they should have nerfed the mana cost. But
so wasn't that her second max?
yeah, it's always been her second max.
Now, would you go to a Q second max instead? Given that, I mean, like the damage is now negligible.
Yeah, but it's the cooldown. You want to have it up more, so. I would
Isn't
still,
it just a static 2-second? Or is it let me check something.
On the wiki, it's a static 1.5 seconds. The stun duration goes up.
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
stun duration goes up.
Yeah,
So you're
yeah,
still
that's a
gonna
big
wanna
deal. That's a
you're
big
still gonna wanna do the E second.
And the cooldown on
I-
Q only goes down from 13 to 11 when you max it.
No, Sejuani's like hands down the best jungler, or she has been the last 3 patches, and she needed these nerfs, so they're good. The permafrost one's a bit strange because the max health is the one that really matters, but hopefully it's going to give you more windows when you're playing against her. She's still going to be insane in the late game. Like, she'll still be just as good when she gets to mid game too. It's just her early clear is going to be even worse now. So
Her early clear is going to be worse. She's going to be able to be invaded easier, and if you're not good, if you're bad at pathing, you're going to have a lot of issues looking for ganks if you're not able to effectively maintain your health.
yeah, I agree.
Rammus got some changes. W, his defensive ball curl. The armor bonus has gone up from 50 to 70% up to 50 to 90%. The magic resist bonus, the flat part went down from 20 to 10. And the scaling part went from 50 to 70 down to 25 to 45%.
Rammus is my boy, but
I love Ramus.
What?
kind of like this change, to be honest. I like that they are focusing him more in one direction. I've kind of felt like a problem with the game is the homogenization of some aspects, so I like this, to be honest.
Gonna say Dom, where you had that issue saying that Idol of Durand didn't know what it wanted to be necessarily. It seems like they've completely gone this is what exactly we want Rammus's to be.
And it makes sense. I mean, Rammus in some ways is like the counterpart to Galio. Like, Rammus is all about anti-melee or anti-physical damage, and Galio is all about anti-magic damage. So these changes definitely make sense along that theme.
And yeah, I think they're excellent changes too. It really puts him into that niche of anti-physical, but now he's gonna be pretty weak early in mid game against mages because his base magic resist bonus went from 20 to 10, so it got cut in half. And then when you activate defensive
magic resistance early,
yeah, you're not gonna be building it early. And when you activate your defensive ball curl, you're gonna get your percentages based on that being cut in half too. So it's gonna be a lot less. So if you're in mid-game team fights and you're a mage against Rammus without any MR, you're going to be able to burst him like pretty easily. Because he's not going to have very much MR.
I mean, the flip side is that if for some reason he rolls in and then taunts you, you're probably dying.
Yeah,
if you're that mage.
Almost certainly. But now you can't just blind pick Rammus in solo queue. Well, you can, but it's a little harder to do.
If you're going to pick him, you probably want to be later on in the draft and know that the enemy picked up like Master Yi jungle.
Yeah, Master Yi Yasuo, and then you pick Rammus. It's basically a free win as long as you don't.
You'll win
as long as you don't screw up too hard.
Beaver, I know you liked banning Rammus a lot for a while there. Are you still thinking he belongs in there, or now are you fine with him on the board?
I just ban Rammus because I think he's annoying. He just rolls out of Fog of War going way too fast, and then you're just gonna instantly die. And I have not me personally, but I always find my laners have a hard time playing against him because he'll gank early and then snowball the hell out of a game. And then since I usually play physical damage, either assassins or bruisers in the jungle, I play tanks too. I play like all physical champions. I don't like dealing with a Rammus that's way too far ahead. But now at least I don't think I'm gonna ban him anymore because our mages are gonna be able to deal with them. Yeah.
Udyr saw some changes here. His basic tech damage growth stat went from 3.2 to 5.
Yeah, that's significant, but not.
Especially in conjunction with this next change. Tiger Stance's strike ratio went from 120 to 160% of his total attack damage up to 120 to 180% of his total attack damage. And Phoenix Stance's strike ratio went from 0.45 ability power scaling to 0.6 ability power ratio.
Out of all of these changes, I'm more excited about the Phoenix Stance change than either of the other two.
A buddy of mine just played prior to today, so it was on the old patch, played Udyr with Trinity Force and the new Sterix, and he really, really, really liked how everything felt. He played it thinking that these changes had already gone through, so he's super excited because like now the build he was already really happy with is going to be even better just by virtue of the bonus attack damage he's getting.
All of like T-Force, I love that item on him. It's amazing on him. Titanic Hydra, really good on him. Sterix, the new Sterix is going to be great on him. Issue with Q though is the building up to see the Q damage goes off takes too long early, and if you cannot make things happen right out the gate, it's going to take way too long to get to the point where Tiger, where you just shred people with Tiger. Like I still think Phoenix is the way to go if you're gonna play him, and I think there are other junglers that do what Udyr has done for years way better right now. Warwick being the king of those. So
I think that Tiger Udyr is still a thing top lane, and I think with these changes to his base attack
It gets
damage
better.
and the ratio, Tiger Udyr is probably a real thing top now. Because
Yeah,
it's
it sucks in the
total AD ratio.
it's so slow in the jungle.
Since it's
I mean,
a
there-
total AD ratio buff on that Q, the base attack damage growth actually factors into that as well.
Mhm.
So there's actually two buffs to his Q there, really, when you look at it.
Is there an argument to be made he doesn't even need to be in the jungle anymore? Just go top lane where he's going to get more money to get the two items that he really wants anyway?
If he,
Yeah,
You
you
could
can't
definitely say
afford.
that.
if he really needs Trinity Force and Sterix Gauge to be good, I mean, that's
Can't
an
afford those
expensive
in the
build.
jungle.
Yeah, it's an expensive build.
Junglers, unless you're like hard snowballing, you're kind of on a budget. Unless you have AoE clears. So the only champions that can actually afford to build expensive items are ones that have like mad AoE, so they can farm. And Udyr does have AoE, but only in the form of his Phoenix stance. So I think Todd's right. The Tiger really only makes a difference for top lane.
The only other issue with Tiger and top though is that it's kind of cheesy, and if somebody respects your ability to murder them early, they just wait it out.
I mean, yeah, it's definitely got the Pantheon syndrome, but I think the scaling change here, and I think the buff to his base AD addresses
Makes up for
that
it.
to an extent, yeah.
Yeah, I think the champion still just needs a rework.
You're not
Because
wrong there.
I don't like what they do with. This is the only thing I don't like. When a champion is really weak, like I'm gonna use Cho'Gath as an example. He's a boring character. Everyone can agree with that. He has simple abilities. He's just a ball of stats, basically.
An effective
No one's
ball of stats.
basically no one was playing him. So then they buffed his base stats, and then buffed his base stats, and then buffed his base stats, and now he does way too much. He has such high MR, armor, percent max health, silence, burst damage combo, 6,000
Once
health.
he gets to the point where he's too big, you're not knocking him down.
Exactly. So I just hope they don't do that with Udyr. Like, just give him a ton of base stats until he's oppressive again.
Base stat changes are the worst because they're so boring to look at on paper, and they have such a huge impact on the game, but you don't realize that's what actually changed everything and
It's
suddenly
not
made the
instant
champion good.
gratification of
Yeah.
this new ability does X. It's let's take the slow curve of by the end of the game having an extra 70 damage on auto attacks.
And we get to talk about that more with the preseason changes to all the base stats. It's going to be so hard to tell, but one that already strikes me,
can't
I
wait.
looked through them, is why did they give Tryndamere an extra 10 AD at level 1? I don't know why they did that, because now his level 1 is even better than it used to be, and it was already like pretty good. It was cheesy, but pretty good.
Well, sort of. I mean, and we're going to talk more about it later. They're also he's losing a lot of attack damage that he was getting from runes previously. But again,
Sure, but then
We'll
we don't know
talk
how the
about
new
that
runes
later.
are going to work out,
Yeah,
so
yeah.
we'll see, though. We'll see.
so Echo, who normally we don't associate with the jungle, but the change here was targeted specifically at the jungle. So his passive, Z Drive Resonance, the damage to monsters has gone from 100% to 200% bonus damage.
Yeah.
Pretty good.
It's
Quality
cool,
of life.
but I think he still sucks in the jungle because he can only proc his passive every so often.
Yeah.
And the worst part, I was just talking about this with you guys before the podcast started, is his shield is effectively useless in the jungle because you can W the camp and then stun it for 2 seconds. But then the shield instantly goes away when the camp is unstunned. So it sort of doesn't make any sense. And like Todd was saying when we were talking off air, it's really good for ganking, that's true. The stun is really good for ganking. And it's good in little skirmishes. But as far as clearing the jungle goes, he just isn't healthy enough. I tried out a quick custom and just tried to do a 3 camp clear. Used both potions and smited once. And I had like less than 100 health. And that's I had no leash, but that's not common on good junglers or even fine ones.
It's a little bit slow still too, and he also needs big items to see major damage, and that's not necessarily happening out of the jungle unless he's just eating lanes.
What I like.
I was just gonna say what I like about it is that they're trying to add more mage junglers to the game. Is right now there's only 3 options: Elise, Nidalee, and actually that's pretty. Evelyn. Diana is such. I would classify her as like a average jungler.
I was just trying to guess.
She's another one. So I like to play Rumble, but he's not that great. And there's also Karthus, which is troll, and then there's a few other ones.
You were literally just telling me you thought that Rumble was super OP out of jungle. Like,
I know
just on what,
not
Sunday or
super
Monday?
OP, super fun.
He's fun.
He is good too in the right meta. Like he's a fine jungler. I would put him in like the A tier, not the S tier of jungle for AP junglers. I mean, there's not much competition, but it's nice that they're trying to add more to the game because it sucks when you're in an all AD team comp and you're like, okay, I'm gonna play jungle. I've got 3 choices. Nidalee, I can't play her. She's too hard. If this is you in solo queue, Elise, she has too much room for error.
Also too hard. So what am I gonna play? At least they're trying to add a nice, easy option.
The only other
Fiddlesticks. Didn't
AP
even mention him.
Yeah, screw Fiddlesticks. The only other AP junglers are ones that usually go tank anyway, like Cho, Sejuani. But for the most part, again, unless you're seeing somebody just snowball out of control and disregard what they probably should be doing and just going full AP, they're going to go tank.
What I like about this change has less to do with Echo and more about, maybe a glimpse into how Riot's going to balance going forward. Jungle Echo was kind of a niche thing that was happening, and previous nerfs ended up hitting that hard. And I like that they're doing a little bit to try to make that better for players that really did enjoy playing Jungle Echo. And it leaves me a little optimistic that they're going to start looking at some of those other sort of off roles that champions were able to successfully, play that they ended up not being able to do because of nerfs that happened. And just sort of trying to add power back, for those specific targeted cases. I do like seeing that type of change. Be hard to do really anywhere other than the jungle, but there's still, a number of champions out there that used to be able to jungle and now can't for whatever reason, and seeing them get a little bit of, jungle specific buffs is kind of a nice change.
Yeah, you always have to be careful though.
Usually the reason
Nidalee
revolves around there's just other people that are better junglers.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but like it sucks when somebody is a capable jungler, but they're overperforming. Galio is probably a good example there. Galio was doing fine as a jungler, but he was doing so well in mid and top that they kept nerfing him to the point where you really can't jungle Galio that well anymore. Maybe now, after all these changes, but previously. And so, he's a good comparison in that and everything. They could give him jungle-specific power back if they wanted to.
We forgot Gragas as well.
Yeah, Gragas, during his laning, and everything, they've kind of nerfed laning ability, and they really just want him in the jungle.
He's a jungler now. But yeah, you do have to be careful when you're buffing jungle champions that aren't typically played in the jungle because you usually don't have much data. So when they changed Nidalee, they were like, oh, some people play Nidalee jungle with a reasonable amount of success. Let's make her trap stun monsters. Right. Terrible idea. Now she gets to run around the jungle and murder all the camps while your opponent's only got half of what you have. So it's fine, but I'm glad they're taking it just one step at a time. So doubling his passive damage against monsters. We'll see how it goes, and if they want to push him a little more, maybe they can try adding a little bit more damage to other parts of his kit.
It's interesting seeing them go this route too, because it doesn't affect their lane presence either. So it's
Yeah.
nice that we're looking at
Yeah.
specific to jungle changes to open this up, rather than, hey, let's buff these things that we think are going to help the jungle clear out or ganks out or anything like that, and it makes it that much better even if the champion is in lane anyway, which makes them a better laner, and that's where you end up seeing them anyway.
Yeah, and there are
over
other
again.
things to consider too. Like, let's just say they decided they wanted to make Syndra a jungler, and they gave her 200% against epic monsters. Now you'll have pro players picking Syndra mid, and their junglers giving them the side camps like wolves on their way back. So you do have to be careful about that sort of stuff.
I still appreciate the willingness to try and
Absolutely.
get power back in that way.
Yeah, no, it's definitely a cool direction to go in.
Evelyn saw some changes here. Her E Whiplash, the minimum damage from percent health was previously at 0. It's now up to 25. Previously, Whiplash did not even kill a mini Krug.
Which is so depressing.
Yeah.
Have you guys
So-
played her?
Just in a custom one time.
Yeah, she kind of sucks, to be honest. She's really weak. They took away her. She's better late game than she used to be, but they kind of took away a lot of her power, which was her being so scary in the early game by being invisible.
Definitely not. Like,
So she's not scary anymore. You're not like, oh, Evelyn could be
Which
behind
is
me. You're like,
sad,
no,
'cause
she's there.
The visuals on her ultimate and other things are pretty cool.
they've stated they think she's going to benefit a lot from all the rune changes and everything, so I appreciate
okay.
them being really light-handed with her buffs here, but I do agree that, if her, if one ability can't even freaking kill the Krugs, then it had some problems.
She'll be good by the end of November, though. They'll buff her because they just reworked her, so they want her to be playable. Want people to buy the skins.
Yeah.
Azir saw some changes. The damage on Q Conquering Sands has gone from 70 to 190 based on rank, down to 70 to 170. And the damage on the soldier damage on W Arise is unchanged from levels 1 to 5, but it has been reduced by 5 thereafter. I am not going to go over the numbers because there are 18 of them.
So they're keeping early power and they're teetering it back a little bit after.
Yeah, from 6 on, he's just ever so slightly weaker, but barely. You won't even notice it, kid.
You sound salty.
You shouldn't notice it, but I'm sure people that play him a lot might.
I'm trying to quick look up the AP ratio on it, but I didn't do it fast enough, so now I have to sort of bridge the
Now
gap
we've got
of
this awkward
silence.
pause.
Yeah. It's 60%
I mean,
ability power. So yeah, by the time you have by the time you're getting to that late stage, maybe you notice it a little bit in the early, but by late game it shouldn't matter at all.
I think a change like this was inevitable because when they minor reworked him, the idea was less range but more damage. But playing against Azir, it really didn't feel like he had much less range, but he had a lot more damage. So they needed to make one adjustment, either lower the damage, is what they're doing here, or give him even less range. But I mean, that's the dangerous part with Azir. Like, you can't give him too little range because he's supposed to be, the guy that summons people to do his bidding. He can't be melee.
The big one is still the hit on Q. I don't know. I still feel like he has a lot of early damage here. I feel like more people are complaining about his early than his late, but
Yeah,
maybe
if
I'm
you give
mistaken.
Azir a lead, especially to a good player, and it can feel really punishing. So
wasn't it? I mean, it was most of us who we were up against somebody who was just bad, like not a very good Azir player, but like our game took 15, 18 minutes longer than it needed to just because they had Azir and we were really
Because you
struggling
get
to break
insta
through.
kill any of us.
Yeah.
Except me, because I was Kled.
Oh,
And I got
yeah.
Scarlet back.
That was the Kled of Legend game.
That was a pretty good game.
Ardent Sensor got changed. The attack speed buff has gone from 20 to 35% down to 10 to 30%, and the on-hit magic damage buff has gone from 20 to 35 damage down to 5 to 20 damage.
All right, it's all fixed, right, Dom? All fixed.
Yeah, it's not even worth buying anymore. No. Beaver and I have strongly different opinions on this.
yeah, we should go over them. You want me to go first, or do you want to
Why
go
don't you
first?
start?
Okay, so I think this is the nerf it needed. Before, Ardent Sensor was an item that if you did not play a champion that could purchase it, your team got punished way, way, way too hard. So as soon as the one team completed Ardent Sensor, they had a massive power spike. So what they wanted to do is they wanted to make it so that, don't get me wrong, when I'm going through this, Ardent Sensor is still a good item. And if you play a champion that can build it, you should still build it. But now if you rush Ardent Sensor or get it really early, the power spike isn't as big as it used to be. You're going to get like 15% bonus attack speed for you and your 80 carry, which is like a dagger worth of gold. And then the on-hit magic damage is basically negligible now. It's like 5 to 20. It'll be like 7 instead of 25 to 35, 20 to 35. So the on-hit's basically negligible. So the whole point of it was to bring Ardent Sensor into a place where now you can pick other characters that don't have to build it. And if they do rush it, like let's say you're playing against Karma, she rushes Ardent Sensor. If you're playing Thresh, now you have a longer window until Ardent Sensor hits the peak, which will be in like the mid game. When you're getting like 25% attack speed, that's when it really starts to ramp up. And then your on hit's gone up a little bit. It's acting more like 1,000 gold worth of stats. I just think that the meta now is not shaped around whether you build Ardent Sensor or build to counter Ardent Sensor. It's just going to be another really strong item in the game.
If they had changed Relic Shield to make it melee only or make some other type of meaningful change therein, I would agree with you more. And I agree that, hey, yeah, it's weaker. Of course it's weaker. The numbers are lower here. But the reality is that there are so many 80 carries that really benefit from whatever type of attack speed they can get that they don't have to pay for, that this item is still going to warp the bot lane meta as a result. Which means people are going to be going for the things like Relic Shield, which adds a lot more sustain to the lane just by virtue of the passive and also the extra potions that the 80 carry is going to get. Such that it still penalizes the team that doesn't, that goes for like a heavy engaged champion.
Okay, but if you do build Relic Shield as an 80 carry, and your support takes gold runes just like they do the last couple of patches, and you're playing against a team like a Thresh and like a whatever Vayne, Draven, doesn't matter, some 80 carry who doesn't build that. It's not like as soon as the other 80 carry buys Ardent Sensor, they're now way, way, way far ahead of you. It's not like it was before. They're not getting instantly 25% attack speed. They're getting like 15, maybe 12 if they've rushed it really early. So I'm just saying that it's not. It's still really good. The item is still good, but it's not as punishing. It's not like as soon as the enemy support builds the Ardent Sensor, your team is automatically going to lose now. That's just not the case anymore.
I guess that's where I disagree. To me, it's still like that ends up being a difference maker. I hope you're right, because I hate the current state of bot lane. I think it is beyond boring, and in a lot of cases just unfun to even play. So I really hope that you are right and I am wrong, but I still think it is the item that's defining how the bot lane meta.
If you still are planning on buying this, is the early game nerf enough that you would build something else first and not rush this anymore?
I think so. I think it's best probably like when you're getting 20% attack speed from it.
I think you're still getting it as quickly as you can. I mean, maybe you get your Sightstone before then because reasons, but there are a lot of, there's just a strong an argument to
aren't 80 carries like still too strong to pass this up, like in that the core of the problem?
They're too strong once they have this item.
No, well, like they're too strong in general, aren't in my opinion, aren't they? Like, and done this, didn't Ardent Sensor just compound that, and because of shields and everything else that's going on right now in the game, like that's why it's not just Ardent Sensor, like.
Oh, it's definitely shield and to a lesser degree heal creep, but like the shield, the amount of plus shield power that's available, including on Ardent Sensor, like it's unnecessary and unreal, really. Like it just
that's what I mean.
There
like,
shouldn't be that much in the
Ardent Sensor used to, I mean, to an extent it does now, but it used to turn 80 carries into the best duelists in the game. You could not fight them. They had the on-hit drain, they had bonus AD, they had bonus attack speed.
It's not really crazy. A duel though.
I know, but it'd be like in a 2v2, it gives them an insane advantage.
Yeah. Now, I still think that's a huge advantage that they're getting once that item's available.
That's kind of what supports like have been like relegated to basically being a follow their AD carry around and just make them strong. I don't know.
Yeah,
if
that's
my favorite.
that's why it's not fun. Like
They're not
that's why I hate
They're
it.
not making plays. They're just being stat-giving machines that walk around and heal people.
Yeah,
And that
th-
sucks.
Like,
You place wards, you heal your AD carry.
and what bothers me is they've changed so many other champions that were doing that exact same type of thing, but then for some reason they decided to put that on an item. And I was trying to think of like what is the most comparable tank item to doing what Arden Center does, like for another teammate.
Like Knight's Vow,
And it-
right?
Yeah, it's Knight's Vow, but Knight's Vow has like an actual penalty to the bearer. And they're rewarded by the teammate doing really well, and yeah, you have the good feels of like, hey, I propped up the AD carry or the Jax or the Garen or somebody who's doing a ton of damage. I'm keeping that person more alive, and I'm being rewarded for it. But Arden Sen's just like, nope, I press a button, and now this person who is already dealing a lot of damage deals a lot more damage a lot faster.
So would you prefer if they took away the percentage healing and aura on it, the 10%?
I think they need to make the
Delete the item?
buffs. No, I think they need to make the buffs on it more in like it needs to do something else.
I guess what they feel like is that when the support uses that ability on the AD carry so that they can get the bonuses, I guess they're in their minds, they're like, that's the decision that the support's making. But it's not really like a decision. And there's not really anything to mess up because most of that stuff is like point and click on your ally. Like it's not playmaking. And they're
Or
treating
press R
yeah.
in some cases.
There's not enough involved, but I can kind of see like what they were thinking.
Yeah, I mean, I appreciate the effort, but it's just kind of gotten out of hand. I mean, I'm kind of surprised it took people as long as it did to get hip to it, because it's been in this or a better state for a lot longer than we really appreciated. But like they need to do something new to it because it's just not fun, in my opinion.
Well, that was a great conversation, but what this really affects is top lane KO. I think we all can agree that now top lane KO might not buy this item every game. Like maybe you don't need two Ardent Sensors on the same team every game now, I might
Ardent
only
Sensor,
buy
Knight's
it
Vow.
if...
Master Yi
See, I
can't-
might only buy it as top lane KO if I've got a Yi jungle. Maybe?
Yeah.
That strategy's not very good, right, Punch?
Yeah, that strategy sucks, so I wouldn't do that anyways.
Frozen Heart got changed. The armor went from 90 to 100.
It's a super viable item now.
Cool.
I've always liked Frozen Heart, so I'm glad to see this change.
It's definitely underpurchased.
Yeah. You can also think of 20% CDR as like adding damage to your hit.
That's because
basically.
most of the champions that would be inclined to go for Frozen Heart look at it and see, oh, a bunch of armor, but mana?
Ugh.
I'm
think
gonna
the
get that Randuin's instead.
I think the issue
want
right now
mana.
with Frozen Heart is it's a really strong item, but Righteous Glory is much more gold efficient, and it adds a lot more utility to your team. So it's kind of hard to make the selfish purchase of going for the Frozen Heart when you can get the Engage item.
I don't like
For
the blue
cheaper.
stat.
You're not gonna like this next item then. Tear the Goddess.
Damn it.
Used to be able to gain 2 stacks every 8 seconds, but now you can gain up to 3 stacks every 12 seconds. And this change also impacts Seraph's Embrace and Manamune.
Does
All right.
Does that make a difference?
I think it helps Ezreal out. And like Cassiopeia.
I mean, like if you're playing a champion that has 3 abilities that you can use in a 12-second period, you can blow all 3 of them at the same time and get stacks for it. Whereas
All it's doing is
cool.
it's increased, like it's, you were limited to 2 stacks every 8 seconds, and now you're getting 3 stacks every 12, which is the same ratio, but it's like, it just smooths out.
You have a
how
different
get
window
your-
now.
Yeah, you just smooths out how you get your stacks.
Yeah.
More accessible.
The bigger change might be Manamune previously gained 4 mana per stack and now gains 5 mana per stack. And that is, I guess, an Ezreal buff.
Oh
Yeah, it's like 25% faster.
Give me that mana.
I don't know. I don't have much to say about those items. Like, it's pretty clear cut what they do for you, and at this point, we all know who should be or shouldn't be buying them.
Yep.
Don't look
Maybe
at
they'll
me.
be bought more after
I'm
the
looking
changes.
at you, Mister
Don't look at
Mister Manamune rework Yorick.
You have no idea what you're talking about, man. I'll show you the power.
Yeah, you've showed me the power. You were useless, and by the time you came online, it was too late.
But when I did come online, I was one-shot people.
Yeah, but we'd already we were still losing the game. at
Yeah,
that
you
point.
guys should have just played better. It would have been all right.
You and that's patch 7.21.
Yep.
Play better. That's
We did
the
it.
moral of the patch.
Yep. Just be better.
Play better.
That's the mentality you gotta have in the final patch of the season.
Just do better.
Just get
Do better
Season
in a
7
short
was
amount of
a
time.
thing.
Achieve the rank that you believe you should have.
You got 2 weeks. to
Achieve
get
the
better.
rank you deserve.
Yep.
or suffer mediocrity.
Yep. For yet another season.
You have to wait
At
another
least as
year
far
to
as your
prove
loading
yourself.
screen border is concerned. All right.
No,
Yeah.
wait.
Gold's a better
So,
color anyway.
I actually I was thinking about this earlier. Now that we know like what the Victoria skin's supposed to be, and based on what rank that you like, what I guess whether you're playing flex or whether you're playing solo queue or whether you're playing threes, you get a different chroma with it.
So yeah, there's a base chroma, which is kind of this pretty cool purple color.
Yeah.
And then if you get to gold or higher in Summoner's Rift, it's what is it? Obsidian.
Yeah, something like
If you
that.
get it in Flex Q, it is no. In Summoner's Rift, in Solo Q,
It's
it's
white.
white.
Yeah.
In Flex Q, it's black, and if you get there on Twisted Tree Line, it's blue.
And this is for Graves.
Yeah.
I was thinking about this today because I saw it and I was like, oh, that's actually pretty cool. All of the variations look pretty awesome. This is sweet. But for people who I guess are just coming online to try and get their end of season rewards within the past month, I kind of feel bad for anybody. Like it. Does it kind of suck to anybody else that when they're gonna release a Victorious skin, they give you like, well, here, this is something cool and it has all these special things based on what you're playing. So if you don't play threes, like you're not gonna get one or the other. You have 2 weeks to go and do stuff. Good luck.
I mean,
they've-
we know the reward is coming. I don't think it's like
I mean, I get that we know the reward's coming, but let's say that let's say Punch just gets really, really into jungle. All right. Let's just say he gets really into
That's not going to happen.
I know this, but let's just say you get really into jungle and you played
Okay.
80 carry before, so you're like, man, you know what? I'm gonna get really into jungle and I'm gonna play the only actual jungle 80 carry that is worth anything, and fuck you, Ezreal, you don't count, and Kindred's not real, so that doesn't matter either. So
He's
I'm
talking
gonna
about
play.
Quinn. Everybody.
Yeah, well, no, I'm gonna play Graves and I'm gonna get
Definitely not
good
gonna
at
happen.
Graves and I'm gonna do Graves things. But I'm just gonna play him in solo queue because why not? And then it's like, but man, I really want this Graves chroma and threes. Better get all my threes games in the next 4 days. It's all the time I have left. I don't know. I feel like that window is real
that's
short.
basically been me, and I can tell you there are a lot of people doing that. So I'm running into a lot of players who do not understand that map at all.
Yeah, I can imagine, and I bet it. Like, I guess you're gonna have to prioritize what queue you're gonna want to play because, man, if you're jumping into something where you don't understand a different meta, such as threes or soming like that, and you're
Threes
getting
is really, like,
crushed,
don't-
you're getting crushed in games. That's
If
not gonna
you're-
be fun.
If you think you're gonna quickly get to gold into Twisted Tree Line, I'm not saying you can't do it. I'm saying don't go in and treat it like it's Summoner's Rift. It's a very different map.
And champions there's champions on that map that are just way better.
But it's even just stuff like a lot of people like just kind of hang around their turret and stay in their lane and they don't pay attention to stuff like, no, you got to be ready to move, and pinging that your opponent is missing is not good enough. Like, you better be headed there. You got to treat every role kind of like it's the jungle on Summoner's Rift. Like, you need to be heading towards where
I
you
would
think
say
the next fight
you
is going to
treat
be.
every role like it's the jungler and mid lane. Like, you have to have this synergy between the two to really make it work. Because if you're planning on playing a threes map, like you would gangplank in the top lane and just want to sit on your island the entire time, you're not gonna have fun.
Yeah, I think there's like a misperception that one role, or like everything's kind of an island, and you just farm to a certain point. There is no island. Like, if you're
That map is too small to have islands.
Yeah,
Yeah.
if you're hanging out in one spot, not doing anything else, you're screwing your team.
But no,
Fever,
I
you would
just
do well
I
doing
thought it. I think it's a little silly that they release what that reward's going to be 2 weeks before they do it. So I don't know. It is what it is. It looks amazing. I'll just put it. At
I
that.
honestly think the one that everybody's going to get just for hitting gold looks the best. The purple
Yeah,
cape
yeah.
looks
I think
really
so
good.
too.
All right, that's patch 7.21 plus a little talk about Graves. Thanks for joining us, tuning in, everybody, and we will see you next week, fellas.
Wait,
Bye, everyone.
See you guys.
Hugs and kisses.
Where's my later dog?
Oh, I said it. Believe me.
Oh, okay.
Here, hold on. Later, dogs.
Yeah.
Oh no.
Thanks for listening to our product and being a member of the Trinity Force Network community. If you have a moment, please head over to iTunes and give your favorite show a comment and a rating. If you're so inclined, you can check out all of the other great shows in the network. We've got a wide variety of content from League of Legends to general gaming and role-playing podcasts. If you'd like to follow us on social media, we can be found at Twitter, Facebook, and Reddit under T-Force Network. We've also got a Patreon under that name where you can support your favorite shows with a small donation each month. Thanks again for listening, and we hope you continue to enjoy all of our podcasts, videos, and the community that we've provided.